Hey everyone, firstly I wanna say thank you for the support I'm getting talking about all this. I've mentioned it already, but it really does help me feel less crazy just being able to dump this all on someone and not feel like I'm going to have to go to a mental hospital or something. I also meant to post this update earlier today, but my internet was acting strange and would let me do anything with it all day. Finally was able to post using the internet at work, and I hope a few things that happened in this story will explain some stuff, or maybe just raise more questions. Who knows at this point? One thing that's helped besides trauma dumping here is a friend I have here asked me to a lake nearby to hang out for Memorial Day. Of course, with everything going on here, I was more than happy to accept, if not just to get away for a while. We had a great day, beers, swimming, finally seeing some people I knew were real again. The whole past weekend or so has been a lot, and some sense of normalcy really helped my nerves. It still all weighed on the back of my mind though. The man with the box, the key, the screams and knocking. Especially Macy. Maybe some part of me just wanted to brush off our last weird text interaction and see her again. Maybe some part, I'd say the bigger part, just wanted to figure out if she's related to this somehow. When I got back last night, it was the same as always. Not a single person around. Again, I wanna be clear, there's a ton of cars in the parking lot, like to the point I have trouble finding a spot close to my building door. And obviously I've seen the man with the box and Macy, so I know there's definitely people that live here. But nobody around, except them of course. I guess this time it could have just been the fact I got home late. Still, it gives me chills the deeper I think about it. I made my way up the stairs to my apartment, the echoing of my footsteps through the stairwell emphasizing to me just how alone I was. Back inside, I unconsciously threw my own keys on my counter right next to the key from before, and it really all came flooding back. But I'm trying to stay level-headed. Regardless, to try to keep it from sending me over the edge, I slid it away from mine and haphazardly threw a notebook nearby on top of it to block it from view. I went out to my balcony and lit a cigarette. What I had initially thought was going to be the end to the night. Leaning on the railing, I let the nicotine calm me back down. Across the street I noticed house lights here and there shutting off, other folks calling it a night too as the holiday came to an end. As I finished and put it out in the, admittedly overly full ashtray, I noticed the mark on the small rug I placed out there from the coffee Macy spilled. I got it right after the box incident to cover the scratches from that in the concrete. The stain was right where the scratches would have been, and I had a strange thought. I whipped out my phone and fumbled to turn the flashlight on. Once it was, I lifted the rug and shined the concrete underneath. The scratches were completely gone, as if they, or even the box, had never been there. As I stared in confusion, I got a text message. My heart skipped a beat and I dropped both the rug and my phone, luckily not losing it off the balcony. I snapped myself back to reality and picked it back up to check. It was Macy. After about a full minute of contemplation, I opened it. "Hey, I saw you get home," she had written. "How?" How on earth did she see me get home? I'm hyper vigilant for anyone at all I can see whenever coming or going given the circumstances, and I definitely didn't see her anywhere. The more rational part of my brain reminded me she came to my apartment. I hadn't any idea which one she lived in, so maybe her window faced the parking lot and she had seen me that way. Even that though, what are the chances she would see me get back right when I did and text so soon after, unless she had been watching for me already? I didn't know if that was flattering or another thing I should be worried about. On top of that, her last other text I could still see right above this one made me more sure that something was going on. I immediately went into investigation mode. "Oh hey, yeah lol, I've been out with a friend all day," I replied. My whole goal now was to try to seem casual and see if I could pull something out of her to figure out just what the hell is happening here. I wasn't going to ask her about the last text. I certainly wasn't going to bring up the screaming or knocking. I had to navigate this carefully. Oh fun. How was it? This is getting even stranger. She seemed more casual than I was actively trying to be. Granted, I barely knew this girl. This didn't sound like the one I met. But I'm not stopping here. It was fun, yeah. I'm a bit exhausted, haha. I tried not to leave it open for her to actually have a reason to come over. I was actually tired, but now I wanted answers and wasn't looking to have any more weird incidences right now. Despite not wanting any though, I'm sure you can tell I wouldn't be writing this if they didn't happen. Good. Another out of character response. As chill as possible, I replied. So how was your day? Anything interesting? Doing my best to pry at some sort of evidence or answers or something. I regret sending it now. What she said next just made me more worried. I should have just ignored my phone and went to bed. Yeah, I met a really nice guy in the building. He's cool, we should all hang out sometime. I know exactly who she's talking about. I'm sure you know exactly who she's talking about. Now I couldn't stop myself. Did he give you anything? Damn it. I hit send before thinking. That was definitely too much and too abrupt. At best I sound like a weirdo or like I was about to get jealous. At worst I was gonna get the answer I didn't want. The answer I expected as badly as I didn't want to. LOL, yeah, actually, how'd you know? He left a box with a really nice note sometime after he left. It's supposed to be a gift, but I don't really get it. I should have ended the conversation right there and just come up with a reason in the morning why. But I felt like the puzzle pieces were close to fitting together. Unfortunately, I was right. I felt I was getting obsessed. Really? So you opened it? Yeah, there was like an old jewelry box inside. I think he forgot the key though. It's locked. I knew what would open it. I slowly looked to the spot on the counter where the key was. Still covered by the notebook. I went over to it and placed my hand on the notebook. When I did though, I was jump scared again by the slam of a door. Rather, not a door slamming shut, but the way it sounds when someone opens it hard and it bangs into the wall. Clearly coming from the hallway. Then another, then another. I heard this over and over again, getting further and further away until finally it stopped. I wish I never walked out to investigate, but like I said, I was obsessed now and just had to know. I cautiously, quietly as possible, opened my door and peered out. Every single door down to the opposite end of the hall was wide open. I'd like to say I was relieved, finally seeing some sign of the other apartments being occupied. But because everyone, at least that I could see, was pitch black inside, it still wasn't evidence per se. Until I started seeing hands. Out of the next door apartment, almost coyly, someone's hand slowly stuck out and started waving. I started walking towards it. Looking back now, it was like I was in a trance. I just had to see. I had to see what was in the apartment. As soon as I got close enough to actually try to see inside proper, the hand yanked back inside and the door slammed back shut, immediately followed by a quick series of angry knocks from the other side of the door. Then I noticed another hand coming out of the next apartment, waving. Picking up my pace now, I walked towards this apartment door. But the same thing happened before I got close enough. The door slammed shut and a quick set of the same aggressive knocks followed. This process repeated over and over the same way all the way down the hall as I kept walking faster until I was jogging. I had to see inside one of these apartments. But every time, hand, wave, slam, knocks. That happened until I reached the end of the hall, where noticeably, no hand came out of the last apartment. I stopped in my tracks anxiously. I started towards this last door. It was pitch black like the rest, but in the doorway, someone was standing there. It was Macy. She was facing into the apartment away from me and she seemed off. Not the way she was acting, I mean obviously pulling a Blair Witch in the doorway was off, don't get me wrong. I mean there was something off about the way she looked. She looked taller, her hands looked bigger, her shoulders looked broader. Macy. I tried to get her attention. She slowly turned around and I noticed her look different too. Bigger like the rest of the things that seemed off about her now, but I recognized those eyes. I couldn't forget those eyes if I wanted to. Ever since I saw them in the parking lot, ever since I saw them from balcony. And there they were again, just staring again. Macy began a slow smile. Wider and wider until she looked even stranger than she already did. I started backing away. She stepped out and turned. Now standing still in the hallway with the same expression and strange features. She didn't follow me, but I didn't dare take my eyes away off her until I got to the other end of the hall and to my apartment. Still looking at her standing like a statue, I patted around my door until I found the handle. Slipping inside as quick as possible, I locked the door. The screaming started again. I could tell where it was coming from exactly now though. It was coming from down the hall where I left Macy. And it was getting closer. Slowly but surely making its way to my end of the hall. I grabbed my gun, terrified at what might come next. Louder and louder, I heard this blood-curdling scream until it was right outside my door. I raised my gun, but just as suddenly as it started, it completely stopped. Next thing I heard was my phone vibrate. Still watching for what might happen at the door, I checked my phone. It was Macy. Wanna open it? I didn't even think about texting her back. I stayed up for a long time the rest of the night, but that text seemed to top off the night's events as nothing else happened. The day at the lake and then everything I had just been through had me wiped out, and eventually I couldn't stay awake. By the time I was awake I was too freaked to write any update, so that's what I'm doing now while the memory is still fresh. I ended up taking a double and letting my evening shift run into a night shift. Hopefully, I'll get some ideas on what to do next after I spend a night or two away from that place.